Right, we're going to create with watercolour now a value scale. So that means we're going to use one colour and it will go from dark to light in different stages. And then we're going to use that, so I'm going to use blue. We're going to use that to help us create a mini landscape using just one colour in lots of different tones. So the first one, I want it as dark as possible, so not much water on the brush, but plenty of paint. So here we go. And I'm just doing like a little box of colour, I suppose. Okay, that's pretty dark. Now, you can layer on top. So you can, if it's not dark enough, works better if it's dry. Once it's dry, to add more. So then I'm just going to add a tiny bit of water. So I'm not dipping the brush all the way in, just the tip. Just the tip. I've wiped it off slightly on the edge of the pot there. And as you can see, it's gone a tiny bit lighter. There we go. And then same again. Just dip the tip in, wipe it off slightly on the edge, just to get some of that excess water off. And you should find that it's starting to go from dark to light just by adding water to it. Okay, so I can see I've probably got a bit too much water on the brush. I'm just gonna dab it gently on a paper towel. There we go. That's only because there was far too much water on the brush. You'd end up with a big puddle, basically. That one's pretty much the same as the one before it. Let's keep going. Ah, there we go. Starting to get lighter now. Too much water again, dab it a bit. And you should be able to get it to fade so much that what you're left with is mostly just water. That final one there, well, I'll squeeze in one more, but that one is nearly just water. That last one is very faint. There we go. So we've gone from dark blue all the way through to light, and that's just using that same blue there. So that's called our value scale. And so we've got the darker tones at the top, haven't we? And we've got the lighter tones at the bottom. So we're going to use what we've got there and what we've just practiced to try and create a mini landscape. So I'm going to start just by doing a loose sketch of a couple of mountains there. I'm doing it very faint, hopefully you can see that. Let's have the edge of a lake, something like that. And I'm just going to do some straight lines going up. They will end up being some trees. Don't really have to sketch those in. This just gives you an idea of what I'm aiming at, really. Okay, so I'm going to start then. I'm going to start with a bit of darkness at the top, like this. So a little bit dark, not quite as dark as that. Okay, just going side to side, sweeping movements, not pressing hard with the brush. You shouldn't really, there shouldn't be many times when you need to press hard at all with a watercolour brush. Really, it'll ruin the brush, to be honest. And look, I'm just adding more water, and now what I've got is a graded tone, meaning it starts off darker and then it goes lighter. A graded tone could also start off lightly and go and become dark. Okay, so I've gone up to the edge of the mountains, but without going over. Right, next, I'm going to repeat the same thing, but for the mountains. So it's going to be dark at the top of the mountains, like this. Oh, look, some of the water has bled into it from the background layer. Well, that's okay. You get accidents that happen like that with watercolour. And sometimes they can be happy accidents, meaning that they have worked well for you. Okay, so I'm trying to make these mountains get lighter and lighter as we go further down. I'm changing the shape of them as well, doesn't really matter. Right, now I'm just going to take most of the water off the brush. So that last layer, sorry, that last bit of the tone is very light indeed. Right, I think it's not dark enough at the top, so I just go back in and add a bit more. It's easy to make things darker. It's harder to lighten them. To lighten them, you have to just put water on the area that you want to lighten, just with the brush, and then dab it gently with the paper towel. And it should come off. Okay. Okay, that's a little bit better. Just going to put some water at the bottom there. Okay, next job then for me is to do the trees. So again, I want the trees to be dark. So I just do those lines going upwards. Just going to do lots of them. And then I'll put some branches on them. I'm trying to leave the trunks clear at the bottom, because otherwise you won't know they're trees. I'll put the edge of the lake in as well. So hopefully you can see that we've used lots of these tones already. So you can see now I'm going over some bits that weren't dark enough. You can always make things darker just with extra layers. Okay, so there you go. There's some trees. I'll put one tree on its own there. Don't know why. Just thought I would. There's some trees. Okay. And then another graded tone. You know what, I said lake, but this could just be trees at the edge of a field, for example. Something like that, by a roadside. Doesn't have to be a lake. And there we go. So there's an example of using this value scale of one colour, going from dark to light, just one shade of blue. And we've got pretty much most of it in there, haven't we? We've got really dark in the trees. I'd probably end up making them a bit darker. And then we've got mid-tones, haven't we, in the mountains, and mid-tones in the sky, and some lighter tones around the trees there, and also the edge of this field, or wherever you want it to be. You know, I wasn't happy with this bit here in between, so I decided to put more mountains in. I just drew a line here. I'm just going to have kind of even more mountains and see if that's any better. This is your sketchbook, and this is your place to experiment. Don't think of each piece of art that you do as has to be the perfect finished version that ends up going on display. No, it's your place to experiment and to practice and to try different ways. I think that has improved it a bit. Yeah, I think I'm a bit happier with the way that looks.